Okay, good morning and welcome to our second day of solving systems by graphing. So today what we're going to do is go over basically what we learned yesterday with solving a system by graphing when we have both of our equations in y equals format, and then we're going to move on today to what we do when they're not in y equals format, and also what to do when one of the equations is simply like y equals 2 or x equal 2. Okay, so let's start by reviewing what we did yesterday. So solve each system. So what we want to do when we're solving a system by graphing is we need to first identify each graph's slope and y-intercept. So we're going to start with my first equation. So I'm going to put this down here. And we need to identify our m, or our slope, and our b, our y-intercept. So remember, if this is already in y equals format, m, or our slope, is always next to the x. So our m is 1/4. Our b, our y-intercept, is positive 3. Okay, now we need to put that on a graph. So b is a y-intercept, meaning that it's going to cross the y line first. So we're actually going to start with putting a dot on b equal 3, or y-intercept of 3 on the line. And then we are going to use our slope to rise 1 and run 4 from that spot. So I'm going to rise 1 and run 4, and I'm going to make a second dot. And then what we want to do is use a ruler or some sort of straight edge, edge of your paper, and we're going to draw our line through the two dots, all the way through the graph. Okay, so there's our first line, and mine is not that good, so I'm going to do it again. Sorry about that. Make sure your line is, and it's because of the marker, it looks like. So we want to make sure our line is accurate, because if it's not accurate, what's going to happen is when we do our next one, when we try to figure out where it crosses, it could be off. Okay, let's do it again. So second graph, our m and our b. So our m is 2 this time, and our b is negative 4 because it says minus. Okay, we're going to start with that b, negative 4. So we're going to go down 4 and put a dot. Okay, now 2 does not have a rise and a run visible, but remember that 2 is the same as 2 over 1. So we're going to rise 2 and run 1. So up 2, right 1, and there's our dot. So now you can, if you don't have a straight edge, use the pattern, because it's going to continue to rise 2 and run 1, rise 2, run 1, rise 2, run 1. So we can see that it's going to cross at that dot that we made on our blue graph, on our first graph. Okay, and so, but what you want to do is use a ruler or a straight edge and draw the line through, and there's your system. Now, the answer, or the solution to the system, is where they cross. So in this case, our solution is right here. That's our solution. And to figure out that ordered pair, it's the opposite of the slope. The slope, we always do rise over run. That means we do our up and down number first and our right and left number second. To do our solution, we start at 0. We do our left and right number first. So we're going to go right. That spot is 4, so our solution is 4 for the first number. And then how far up we went is, in this case, also 4. And so our solution to the system is 4, 4. Beautiful. Okay, let's do this in a little bit more challenging manner. So if you do number 2, slide down to number 2, the difference with this is that neither of your equations are in y equal format. So before you can start, you have to get them in y equals. So the idea is that y, this guy right here, needs to be alone on one side of the equation. So here's your equal sign. 1 is already on the other side. So y is claiming the left side of the equal sign. So that means everything that's on the left, the other than y, has to go over to the right. So we start with furthest out and do the opposite. So the opposite of 2x would be to subtract 2x. Okay, then you got to subtract it over here. And to get rid of the 1, we divide that 1 out. The reason we divide is 1y means 1 times y. The opposite would be to divide. All right, so we divide each of these by 1, and then you want to rewrite it. So we get y all by itself now, equal 1 divided by 1 is 1, minus 2 divided by 1 is 2, and then put your x back on. Okay, so let's do, while we're doing this, let's do the same thing for our second equation, which is clearly not in y equals either, right? So y, again, has claimed the left side of the equation, so we got to get rid of everything else. So this 2x has got to go, so we're going to subtract 2x on both sides to cancel it. This time now we are going to divide out a negative 1, so divide by negative 1. Here, we also have to divide it here and here. So rewriting it, we get y equals 3 divided by negative 1 is negative 3, and negative 2 divided by negative 1 is positive 2. Put that x back on. Okay, now we're going to do our m and b just like we did before. So starting with our top equation, m now is the number that is next to the x, so that would be negative 2. And b is 1. All right, so we're going to start our graph at positive 1, making a dot. That's our b value. And then we need to rise, quote unquote, negative 2. We need a 1 under there so we can run. So remember, rising negative 2 is really going down 2 and right 1. So there's our first set. And again, I'm going to use the pattern. Now I know I'm going to go down 2 and right 1 every single time. And use your ruler, draw the line through the graph. Okay, so the first one is complete. Now let's do the second graph and do m and b again. So our second one, let's take a look at what we've done. So remember, the m has to be next to x, so that's going to be a positive 2 this time. And we know we're going to need that to be a rise and run, so we're going to go ahead and put a 1 underneath that. And our b value is negative 3. All right, we're going to start at negative 3, making a dot there. And this time our rise is positive 2, so we're going to go up 2 and right 1. Oh, yay, it lands right on the other one, so we can see where it's going to cross. Use your ruler and draw the line all the way through the graph. And there we go. Okay, so our solution is very obvious where it crosses. It crosses right here is our solution. And again, so when we do the solution, we want to do our x way first and then our right, meaning we want to go left or right first. So starting at 0, we would go right 1, so that's positive 1. And down 1 is negative 1. So our solution where they cross is 1, negative 1. Okay, that's the second thing we need to know for today's lesson. Now, the last thing we need to know is on the back of the paper, and that is, what do we do when they're both in y equals, but one of them is literally y equal 2? Okay, let's start like we would normally and take a look at each one. So this is in y equals format. So we can try and find m and b right away. Okay, so remember that if there is not a number in front of x, we know that it's a 1. And in this case, it's a negative 1 because it's negative x, so it's negative 1 for m. Okay, we need 2 numbers there, so we're going to put it over 1. And our b is 4. Okay, so let's go ahead, start at 4. Put a dot on the graph. And then our rise is negative 1 over 1. So we're going to go down 1 and right 1 for our rise and our run. And we're going to go ahead and take our ruler and go all the way through the graph. Okay, there we go. There's our first one. Now our second one is y equals 2. So your question is, how do we get m and b from that? Okay. This case, you don't really get m and b in the same way that you would. So if you get an answer like this, like y equals 2, our best bet is to make an xy table, okay? And so it's telling you y is 2. That means y is 2 for every single answer, every single ordered pair, no matter what x is. So my advice to you is pick easy numbers for x, like 1 and 2 and 3. And so what that means is we've got ordered pairs. When x is 1, y is 2. So write 1 up 2. When x is 2, y is 2. So write 2 up 2. Write 3 up 2. And it will show you the line that it's going to graph. And it graphs this straight horizontal line at 2. Okay? And so that's the line that it graphs, is that horizontal line. It still has a solution as well. It still crosses. So this one does cross right here. Okay? And so that solution is going to be x is right 2 and y is up 2. So it's 2, 2 is where that crosses. Okay? And so that's how you do that. Now, if that had been just because we're doing notes here, anytime, let's say, for example, you had x equal 2, you would do the same thing, only you would make your xy chart and you would have every answer for x to equal 2 and y you can pick. Now, the difference is if you were to graph that, okay, so remember, this is your x and this is your y. 1, 2, 3. Let's just do a quick little graph of that. That means that 2, 1. So you'd go right 2 up 1, right 2 up 2, right 2 up 3. And so if you get x equal a number as one of your equations, what that really means is that it's going to make a horizontal line up and down. If you get y equal a number, it makes, if you get x equal a number, it's a vertical line. Sorry. And if you get y equal a number, you get a horizontal line. Okay, hopefully you find that helpful. If you have me for math, we're going to do the Graphing Systems number 2 worksheet that looks like this. And if you have any questions, you can email me and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. Hope you have a great day.